2009, we took our very first trip on the charter bus with SNC Tours, and we've done 11 trips since then. And today, I am just happy and privileged to have many of my travel family, that I call them, that are not part of this local church in the service this morning. And all of you that have gone on any trip, now, I don't want the local people, I'm going to have to stand in a minute, but if you're not part of this local church, and you've gone on a trip with me anywhere, please stand. This is some of my travel family, now church members that have gone on this, that have gone with me on trips. You stand. Anybody that's part of the local church that's gone with us on any trips. This is part of our SNC family, and we just love you. You are an extension of us, and we're so glad that you could be here today. You have certainly blessed me and blessed our church, and our church loves you, and we appreciate you, and the committee wanted you to be part of today. So thank you for coming. You can be seated.
SNC Tours, Sturgis Nazarene Tours, got started very simply, 7 people in a church family 20-some years ago. And last fall, it was 2 charter buses, 113 people who went to Cape Cod, and that's the biggest. And after 2 buses, we said, I think it's on 1 from now on, so we kind of set the limit. But it has been a great experience and a great ministry. Has given us opportunity to just have a great time together as fellow believers. And the beauty of it is that there's a wide representation of different folks from different denominations who go with us, and we just enjoy some of the richest fellowship. I kind of think it's going to be like it is in heaven. When we all get to heaven, what a day of rejoicing that will be. Well, we are delighted to have Dr. John Seaman. Now, he and I have known each other so long, we don't really want to talk about that. We were at Olivet together, and we are twice the men we used to be. Part of that is because we ate too much pizza and other things. But he is our district superintendent, and actually, it is through Dr. Seaman that I actually met Gary Bond, and that Gary Bond and I became such good friends, and we've lived next door to each other for about 30-some-plus years, and all of that. And I won't go into all the details there, but just suffice to say that one good friend led me to another good friend, and it has been a wonderful thing to share together. Dr. Seaman, we're delighted you're here. We want you to bring us greetings from the district and share with us. And by the way, let me encourage you, it's not going to be a piece of chicken at lunch. It's much better than that.
Well, thank you, John. It is a joy for me to be able to be here. And I just want to start off by saying that my wife is not here. So unlike Erwin's self, who knows what I might say. I have no one to rein me in, and so I'm just going to see what comes out. By the way, John did not mention the most important staff member that he has had, and though she has stood here. I shudder to think what his ministry might have been like without Diane Shue. I think we ought to recognize. I was in John's wedding and realized back then that the Lord blessed him greatly in the spouse that he provided him, that prepared him to allow him to be the wonderful pastor that he's been over the years. My assignment is simply to give greetings, and I want to do that on the part of the district. But I do want to say, as I look over the church, that as Glenn commented, you don't look bad for your age. And I believe that the Lord is going to continue to be using this wonderful church as a church of choice here in Sturgis, in southern Michigan, and the northern part of Indiana. Who knows what the future holds as far as this church goes. You just, for 90, you really don't look too bad. Someone said, to ignore your past is to be condemned to repeat it. But sometimes that's not such a bad thing. As we've rehearsed in this service, the stories of God's grace and what He has done through this church over 90 years, lives impacted, transformed, remembering the history that we have had in the Sturgis Church of the Nazarene ought to stir our hearts to be that church as we look forward to the future that God has us for however long He might hold back the return of Christ. Looking back at the history of this church has to challenge our hearts and thrill our hearts for all that God has done. We're looking to the future. You can't miss it. You come in and you've celebrated the past and you've rejoiced about what's going on right now. But as we all leave here in a few moments, you can't help but see the banner that says looking forward to the future. We've hit 90. And though your pastor, by the way, this is one of those things that Linda would have said, John. Your pastor said he wasn't here when this church began, but the church was very young when he 41 years of service and ministry to the Lord, the Church of the Nazarene, and the Sturgis Church of the Nazarene in particular. Have you reflected on what this church would have been had God not placed John Shue here for such a time as he has been leading this congregation, so faithful to the ministry of the Church of the Nazarene, to the call of holiness of heart, never, ever wavering in a day and an age when too many are. I'm grateful for your pastor and for the fact that his own vision is one that will keep us moving in that direction, will keep us in lockstep with the Lord in the call to be sanctified through and through. And so now as we move from our 90th year and launch our challenge for the next 10 years as we aim at our centennial, I am so thrilled that the very first big event is a Holiness Summit. I don't think any of us has a clue as to what might happen as a result of three of the greatest holiness preachers in the Church of the Nazarene today, or in the holiness movement today, I should say. I don't think we can even anticipate all that God wants to do if we will be faithful. We've got word out across the district, and I would just want to challenge everyone to take advantage of all of the service sources, as many of them as you can, because this is a perfect way to start us off in looking forward and being the church of choice in this community. Well, I do give you greetings from the Michigan district. We're so grateful for this church, for your faithful ministry and service to the Lord, and we want to congratulate you on this wonderful achievement. 90 years. You know, each of us, and we've talked about some who have gone on and are waiting for us in heaven. Every single person here is going to come to an end unless Jesus comes before then. We're going to hit 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. But life's going to end. That's that kind of an inevitable curve for a human being. Churches tend to have life cycles. But the neat thing about the church is that doesn't have an end, but it can have renewed thrust and renewed impact. And that's what I see in the Sturgis Church of the Nazarene, continuing these next years, however long they might be, of Pastor Shue leading this congregation. We are not at the bottom end. We are at a new beginning.
Dr. Samuel Young was a general superintendent of the Church of the Nazarene, and in my early years, I heard him make this statement. He said, most preachers wouldn't be worth shooting if it wasn't for their wives. I plead guilty. Well, you haven't been to church unless we've had an offering, right? We're going to ask our ushers to come and receive a wonderful offering this morning as you give unto the Lord, and I know that He has promised to give again, good measure, pressed down, full and running over, and I trust that your blessing